Hey everyone, welcome back to 99. Wait, something's not right. Hey everyone, welcome back to 996. The Howl feels really good to finally wear a hockey jersey again, cheering for this team that I follow. Unfortunately, not under the best circumstances. We're at the 40 game mark of the season for the Utah Hockey Club. The season's been going by really fast, but this past 10 game block of games, Utah's worst 10 block chunk of games are 3-5-2 from games 31 to 40. They started off at the 10-game report 4-4-2, then 4-5-1, and then 6-2-2 for that 30-game progress report, where it was an amazing video. I love talking about the team. So happy. Things are trending so much in the right direction, but they've hit a little bit of a speed bump here. They're at 17, 16, and 7 for their win-loss record. That's a lot of losses. That's 17 wins, 23 losses. 22nd in the league in terms of absolute points. In terms of points percentage, way down from where they were at the 30-game mark, 0.513. That's also 22nd in the league. Goals for per game drops down below 3. You always want to see that number above 3 goals per game. They're at 2.85 goals per game, also 22nd in the league. Their goals against, even though I don't like the number at 3 goals against per game, it's good for average in the league, just a little bit above average, actually 14th in the league. At the 30-game mark, it was at 2.90, trending down, which I liked at that video. Power play, special teams has been awesome, improving throughout the whole season as the seasons went on. They really figured it out with power play number 1, putting Cooley up there and then taking Hayden off. Carcone was on PP2, but now that Carcone's been scratched the past couple games, Hayden's on power play number 2. Power play number 2 is non-existent. I think they have 1 goal all season, to be honest. But power play number 1, let's call it that, 22.32%, good for exactly average in the league at 16th overall, up over a percentage point from the 30-game mark. And penalty kill also slightly above average at 80.15%, up almost 2% from the 30-game mark. Save percentage has been pretty much the same. It's at a good place, 12th in the league. There should be zero criticisms with goaltending, albeit maybe just one game I didn't like by Jackson Stauber, which is a bit unfair because he is a young rookie goalie thrown into a situation where usually that shouldn't happen for such a young goaltender. Shooting percentage is really low, 21st in the league. Under Andre Tourigny, this team has always been around top 10 in the league in terms of shooting percentage. There's been a lot of cases where they are even top 5 in the league in terms of shooting percentage, but these past 10 games, they've been dropping down. They're at 21st in the league. So after I go through all these stats, I'll give you my take on what's going on with the team. Shots on goal per game, pretty much the same at 27.5, and shots against per game, almost the same. They're up a half shot against per game at 28.9. For Andre Tourigny, his teams usually don't put a lot of volume on net. It's more quality over quantity, but usually Andre Tourigny is last place in the league. So it's good that they're actually 23rd. They're trending upwards, but don't expect this team to turn into a high volume team like, let's say, the Carolina Hurricanes. Face-off percentage, it's hovering around top 10 in the league all season. They were number 1 at a certain point, but they're hovering around 51.3%. That pretty much stays the same. And hits per game, I finally found a site where I could rank teams in terms of hits per game. And yeah, 29th in the league, not good. A bit under Andre Tourigny. Obviously, when you're rebuilding, you hit more because you don't have the puck more and you have less talent on your team, so you're hitting a bunch more. But to be way, way down in the league in terms of hitting, I know Bill Armstrong has built this team and is going to continue to build this team to be a hard team to play against. Physicality is going to be important for this team moving forward. Just right now, it seems like they're not really having that physical type of game. Although we're missing a lot of prospects still to come. Daniel Boots can be a hard hitter. Cole Boudouin, Iginla, others, Simishev on the back end as well. Goldsmith on the back end. Like, there's a lot of prospects in the system that love playing that hard-hitting physical game. Just right now, the team currently is probably not focusing on hitting and focusing more on possessing the puck, taking high-quality shots, and just trying to get goals. I think one of the biggest problems these past 10 games is scoring goals. They're at 2.3 goals per game in the past 10 games. They've had a struggling time to find the back of the net. It's reminding me of games 10 to 20 where they just struggled to score goals at will. From game 21 to 34-ish, it seemed like it was easy to score goals. It was coming easy to them. They were scoring at will. Now it's kind of getting harder and tougher to score goals. And also goals against, 3.3 goals against per game in those 10-game stretches from games 31 to 40. They had a 5-game losing streak in these past 10 games, starting off with a blown 4-1 lead against Anaheim at home. Jackson Stauber was in net for that game. That kind of put the team in a tailspin. After that shootout loss against Anaheim after blowing a 4-1 lead, they went on a 4-game regulation loss streak. Three of those 4 teams were good teams, the Avalanche, the Stars, and the Oilers, but that Seattle game, I did not like that Seattle game. I didn't like the Oilers game either, but you have Jackson Stauber in net on the road on a back-to-back against Connor McDavid on New Year's Eve. The deck was stacked against them, so didn't really blame them for that game against Edmonton. But the Seattle game, definitely a team they needed to beat, a team they're sort of battling with for the wild card spot. Seattle's a bit lower than Utah. They definitely needed 2 points there. So to give a macro level analysis on what's going on, I think this team is focusing a lot again on defense and trying to keep the puck out of the net 5-on-5. They were one of the best teams 5-on-5 until game 35, until they hit that 5-game losing streak. Now they're trending in the wrong direction 5-on-5. I used to boast and be so proud of this team being great 5-on-5, but now other teams are starting to score 5-on-5. They don't look too good, maybe focusing too much on defense, which is sacrificing the offense. And some of these players, the players that they need to perform, are just not performing the past 10 games. Sure, you had the Christmas break, the New Year's break. They had the flu bug hitting the team the past 10 games. So maybe this is just a rough spot and they're going to come out of it. But overall, for me, I think this team just needs help. They're at a point now where they just need help from the injured reserve list. Lamoureux, Marino should be coming back soon. It seems like every day the timeline changes. It used to be February 1st for Marino. Now people are talking about maybe this week, maybe next week. So Marino's close. Same with Lamoureux. He could be a week or two out. They just need some help so they don't have to focus too much on defense, because their defensive core has been depleted by injuries, along with Marino, Lamoureux. Durzi's out for pretty much the whole season, but there's talks of him maybe coming back in February, March, but I think he'll probably be one of the last players to come back from injury. I think he will probably maybe come back in March or April, but Bertuzzo, a just stable veteran calming presence on the back end, he's injured as well. Just too many young, inexperienced defensemen playing for Utah, and they really need to shore up the defensive play and just let the offense just focus on offense. I think that's a major point here. The offensive players may be focusing too much on the defense side of the game. Going to players, Clayton Keller, he was in the second spot at the 30-game report and just exploded. He didn't like Dylan Guenther being number 1 on the team in terms of points. He has 12 points in the past 9 games. He missed 1 game due to that flu, but 40 points in 39 games played for Keller. Great stuff by Keller. I expect point per game, and he's executing, and he's been a great captain this half of the season. Logan Cooley, he's erupted as well. 9 points in his past 10 games. He's taken that second spot, 35 points. In 40 games played, he eclipsed his assist totals from last season in about 40 less games played. So great stuff by Cooley. He scored 20 goals last year. He's up to 11, so he's on pace to probably match that 20-goal mark. Guenther, bit of a rough 10 games for Gunther. Only 5 points in the past 10 games, but he's still there at number 3, 34 points in 40 games played. Sergachev had a great 10 games, 7 points in 10 games. Good for 4th on the team. He's at 29 points in 40 games. Schmaltz, 29 points in 40 games, taking a little bit of a step back. I would like to see that number above 30, like 32 to 35. He's on pace right now for about 59 points, which is low for Schmaltz. He should be well above that 60 points per season marker. For other players who had rough goings this past 10 games, Hayden, only 5 points in the past 10 games. It gets worse. Krause, 3 points in the past 10 games. He did have those 2 goals against Calgary, and I thought that would ignite him to go on a hot streak. He's been looking good. It's just the execution is just not there. McBain, 2 points in the past 10 games. Considering he plays with Cooley and Gunther, only 2 points is really underwhelming. Michelli, 2 points in 10 games. Like Krause, he had a 2-goal game against Dallas and then was kind of quiet against Florida. Bukestad, 2 points in 10 games played. Pretty poor there as well. So that whole third line, 2-4, 6 points in 10 games for all 3 players combined is abysmal. They really need to get that line going. At the 30-game mark, the only complaint I had was that third line. They needed to execute, and they didn't match that hopefulness. I don't think they did execute. Sure, you had Michelli, like I said, those 2 goals, and Krause, those 2 goals, but it needs to be more consistent and more easy for them to get goals. They put O'Brien on that third line, taking Carcone out of the lineup. We'll see how long that lasts. Sure, O'Brien plays that straightforward game, hard on the forecheck, but honestly, you need Carcone in that lineup. You just need to have players who score and less players who just hit hard. And Michelli in that fourth line is not really meshing well with me with Stenlund and Kerfoot. So now we move on to goaltenders. No criticisms against Vejmelka. If anything, I think I'm taking him for granted. He's been just unbelievable, so consistent in terms of his play. Love what he's doing, and hopefully he gets some help sooner or later. Connor Ingram should be back in a week. Last week, he got sent down to Tucson for a conditioning stint. You could only stay there for 14 days before you get called up to the big club, and he should be a backup goaltender next week. Stauber, he had 2 games this past 10 games, one against Anaheim, probably his worst game. It is his worst game. He had an .867 save percentage against Edmonton. He had a .919 save percentage, but 2 losses for those 2 games that Stauber played in the past 10 games. I just need him to develop more in Tucson. I'm uncomfortable with him playing for Utah. He just doesn't look right, and he needs more development time, more time to bake. But he's held the fort down, and luckily Vejmelka hasn't needed to take nights off. So in the next week, we should see Ingram back, and hopefully he's back 100%, and he hopefully returns to that last year's form where he was almost called up to that All-Star game. He had an amazing first half of this season, so hopefully we see that Connor Ingram in the next week or so. So that's it. They're 5 points out of the wild card spot. I made a tweet that the team they're chasing, Vancouver Canucks, they have the toughest schedule remaining in the NHL, along with other teams they're chasing, Calgary and St. Louis. They're in the top 10 of toughest schedules remaining. For Utah, they have one of the easiest schedules remaining. They're currently on a 7-game homestand. They had that first game against the defending Stanley Cup champions, Florida Panthers. 2 of those 7 games are against playoff teams, Florida, and they have another one against Winnipeg. For me, I need them to win at least 4. If they win 5 of the 7, then I think they're guaranteed a playoff spot, or that's my guarantee. They already lost 1, but I chalked that Florida game, as a loss anyways. They got a pretty tough back-to-back this week, Friday and Saturday night, against teams in the basement. San Jose Friday night, the Islanders Saturday night. So both of those are winnable games. It's just unfortunate that they're back-to-back games, and it's really hard for an NHL team to win back-to-back games, but they really need to turn it around. They had that flu bug around the locker room. It should be gone. They already hit that rut of a 5-game losing streak. We shouldn't see 2, 3, 4 losing streaks moving forward. They should get healthier. The cavalry is coming in, and hopefully this was just a rough spot on a very successful season. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.